Okay, guys, let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to look at a little bit of programming in Python. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so here I have Anaconda that's been opened up. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Spider. It'll take a second to open. So if you want, go ahead and open up Anaconda, go to Spider for today's lecture if you want to program along with us. Okay, so at the beginning of the semester, I asked all of you to make a directory called Math2305 Fall 2020 somewhere on your machine. This is my location here. And you do that just by doing project, new project, and then give it a name and the place you want to go. Now, when you set up your spider, it might not look like this. It might look a little bit different. The reason why mine looks like this is because I went to Preferences, and you can then go to Appearance and choose the appearance that you wish to program in. I've always been kind of a dark theme person myself, so that's the theme that I went through, so Spider Dark, but you can change it to any number of things here, okay? So that's why mine looks dark. Okay, so here in the Spider IDE, we have a console which acts almost like a calculator, so you can do simple things like addition or little things like this. But this is kind of limited. If you want to clear it out, just type clear, it goes away. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a script, and I'm going to right click here in a new file, and I'm going to call this practice.py. So the .py gives it the Python extension, so we know that that's a Python file. So here it is. See that it appeared in my current working directory. All right. So okay, let's look at some basic types in Python. So if you're familiar with other programming languages, you'll know about strings and characters. In Python, these are not different items. Characters are just simple strings. So let's look at a string with a comment. So this is a string. So giving a comment here, just so we know what we're doing. And I'll call it S is equal to, I don't know, I'll just put my name. Okay. So then we have this, and suppose we want to print it out, and do print S, and then we can just click on this play button here, and we see we have this output here. Now notice that when I ran this script, not only did it print out S, but it also has S as a type string stored now in my console. So if I do S, we see that we have access to S over here in the console. Okay, so this is useful when you're kind of playing around with different operations or methods on a given object that you have in place. So here we can just say type S and it'll print it out, or we can come over here and run this again and it'll print it out. So let's look at some things about S. Now, if you can, please, let me see if I can pull this up. Where is it? I'm going to ask questions, and if you can, please take guesses and tell me what you're thinking. You can use your microphone, or you can type in the chat box here. So let's look at this. So S brackets 0. I'm going to press enter, and I get that. Okay. So what do you think will happen if I do this? And I press enter with that. What do you think the output will be? Someone give me a guess.
It prints A.
There you go. So what we're doing here is we're indexing through the string. So this very first entry, the initial entry, is given with the index 0. The next entry, index 1, it should be 2, 3, and 4. So if I do S of 4, that should give me the Y. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So let's take another guess. What do you think this will do?
Prints the last letter.
Right. So this wraps back around. So this starts here. So -1 index is there. And this would be -2. So this is -2 is the L. Okay. So we see that we can index through strings this way. Now, suppose we want to slice this string and only look at the first name here. So if we count, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see what happens if we do this. Oh, it only went to there. So notice we're starting at the 0 entry and we're going up to the entry before 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3 can be accessed by doing 0 through 4. So if I wanted my full first name, I would do 0 through 5. So this will look at the placeholders for the 0th entry through the 4th. Okay. I think this might work if I just do this. So if you don't specify the first entry, by default, it sets it to the initial entry 0. Okay. And you can change so if I wanted here, right, if I just wanted my last name, I could do here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we want to go all the way to the end. So starting at the 6th placeholder, so S is 6. And then if we don't specify the stopping point, it's going to go to the end of the string. Okay. So this is just slicing the string according to what entries we want to start at, right? Okay. All right, so, okay. Suppose next we want to check for certain characters inside of the string, or certain letters inside the string. Now this is pretty simple. We can do something like, let's ask if string capital D is in S. It is. So that's pretty convenient to check if there's a certain letter inside of a string. You could say maybe it is X in S. False. Okay. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. So now let's suppose we want to look at maybe the conjunction operator, just like we learned in logic. So we could say D in S and X in S. So what should this evaluate to? If I press enter, what do you think it's going to say? False, right? Because the conjunction operator, both of these need to be true. This is true, right? And, well, this is false. So this would be true and false, so we should get false. But if we do something like D in S or x in s, we get true, right? Because the or operator, you only need one of these to be true in order for the entire thing to evaluate to true. And then, of course, like if both of the letters are in there and you do the and, then it would be true as well. Okay, so that's kind of nice. Okay, so this in operator operation just checks to see if the thing is in there. So now suppose we want to print out the letters in the name. We could do something like for x in s, colon, press enter. And notice here we have white space. You see this white space right here? This white space is telling me that I'm now inside of this for loop. So for each of the x's in s, okay, for each of the letters in that string, let's go ahead and print them out. Print x. Press enter, and press enter again, and you see that prints the R, the A, the N, the D, the Y, the space, the D, the A, the V, so forth and so on. Okay. So this is how we can loop through a string to get each of the letters in the string. Okay. Okay. Suppose we wanted to know how long the string is. Okay. Well, that's pretty easy in Python. We just use the len function, and this is a built-in function. 12. So this is the length of s. So if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the white space, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 entries in here, including the white space. Okay? So that's kind of nice. Now, we can also, let's go ahead and make another string over here. I'll call this one S1, and I'll call the next one S2. We can say this maybe says has a PHP. Test, and maybe we can print out, be sure to call this S1 now, and then print S2. Okay. So we see that these are our two strings. And if we want, we can make the output look a little bit nicer by doing something like this. So we can say S1 is equal to S1, and we can say S2 is equal to, okay, so what I'm doing is I'm printing out this string, and then I'm printing S1, and then S2. So let's see what the output is here. And we see that these are our two strings. Okay. Now, if you have Python 3.6 or higher, there is a preferred way of doing this that's different than this, and they're called F strings. Okay, so the following are F strings. So F strings work by putting an F in front of your string, and then what you can do is now include your variable inside of brackets and then close off your string. So this right here is equivalent to what I just did before. And so I'll go ahead and just, I'll print this out so you can see that it still works. So what this F in front of the string does is it tells whatever is inside the brackets here to be converted to type string, so it can print out nicely. Okay, so I'll go ahead and change that here too for F. Put this variable S2 inside of brackets, close that off, and you see we get the same output. Okay, now we can also, so now we see we have S1, S2, we have S in our variable explorer over here. Apparently somewhere we have an X that's a string A. Okay, whatever. So now here's S1, here's S2. So what we can do is we can concatenate these strings by using the plus operator. So we say S1 plus S2, and we join those two strings together. Now notice that there's not a white space right there, so we can fix that by just saying S1 plus white space plus S2, and then it fixes it and makes it look a little bit better. Also notice that there's single quotes here. Now if I want, I can come over here and I can use single quotes and still have a string. So these are still strings. So maybe like S3, just to illustrate this, this is also a string. I can check, type of S3, and it's a string. Type of S1, also a string. Okay. Now, each type in Python is an object, and we'll get into what object-oriented programming is a little bit later in the semester. But for now, just know that objects have methods that are associated with them. So I can come over here and say something like, okay, let's look at Python string methods. Let's see. So we have capitalized center, all kinds of stuff. So let's go ahead and look at capitalize. Let's see what that does. So how do we do that? Well, let's say we want to capitalize S3, right? So the way that we do that with methods in Python is you S3 and we dot, right? So we have capitalize here, so capitalize, and then close off. And look at, we have like a little message, return capitalized version of string, so let's see what that does. Oh, did not do anything there. So let's see if I can fix this. We capitalized the first letter of the string. So let me change S3. So S3 is equal to lowercase string. And now if I do S3 dot capitalize, notice it capitalizes the first letter of the string. Okay? So let's see what else we can do. Let's just pick one. Is upper. Let's just see if we do this. So like, I'm just gonna take a guess. S3 dot upper. Does that do anything? Yeah. It capitalizes the entire string. So I'm gonna say like maybe S4 is equal to S3 dot upper. So that's gonna be, so S4 is this guy now. And then we can come over here and see, we see this method called is upper. So S3 is not upper, so we should get false. S3 dot is upper, false. S4 dot is upper, true, because everything is uppercase here. Okay, so let's look at, let's see what title does. Okay, so this is S3. So let's do S3 dot title method. So now it capitalizes the first letter of each of the substrings. So these are methods. So whenever you're exploring with Python and you're looking at types, it's useful to look up the documentation for these types and kind of play around with the different methods that you can read about, right? Like there's quite a few methods here, and you'd have to read about them and get a sense of what you can do with the strings. Okay, so those are strings. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at integers or numeric types in specific. So this is an integer. So x is equal to, I don't know, 12. This is a float. By the way, I'm going to come over here to my variable explorer, and I'm going to see, is this it here? Remove all variables. So now we started all over again, right? So all the variables have been removed. Okay. So now if I do S1, nothing. There's no S1 defined because we got rid of it. Again, so okay, that is an integer. This is a float. I'll say like y is equal to, I don't know, I'll say 3.14. Okay, so it's the floating point approximation to that number. I'll actually do that. And this is a whole number. So let's just go ahead and print these out. Print x, print y, and then run this. And now we see we have an integer type and a float type. And again, you can verify this by just doing type of x, integer, type of y, float. And you can add these, you can add different types together. It's fine, no problem there. So let's print out this information in a better way. So I'm going to use an f string here and say f, this is a int type, colon, curly braces to put the variable in there. And then here I'm going to do another f string. This is a float type. And then put curly braces around y, close off that string. So let me clear this out. And then press play here, and then here. Okay. These are kind of squished together, so maybe if I want to put in a new line, \n represents giving it a new line. So notice that there's a space now in between these two outputs. Okay. So now let's look at maybe some division here and say like 3 divided by 4. That's fine. Okay. All right, so that's pretty simple. We can also take powers of numbers. So we can just say like, suppose we want to square a number, we can do x double star 2, and that will square your number. Y double star 2, squaring the number. If you want to take it to the third power, you can do x double star 3, so forth and so on. So the double star is taking the power of that number. Okay. And we can also multiply numbers together. So x times y is some number. X divided by y gives another number, so forth and so on. So the basic mathematical operations are all built in. So it's nice. So let's go ahead and figure that out. Okay, so that was a quick explanation of integers and floats and how they work. Again, the printing out of stuff is really important, especially when you're showing this to people. Okay. Okay. So next, let's just make sure that we're okay with looping. So let's look at some control statements, like maybe suppose we want to print out the numbers 0 through 10. So we can do for I in range, and you'll see what that means in a second. 10. Let's see what this does. It's not going to do what we want, but let's see. All right, so if I print that out, we see we get the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3 through 9. So if I wanted to print up to 10, I need to actually specify 11 here. So it's going to start at 0, and it's going to go up to the number 1 less than that number there. So now we see we get 0 through 10 here. Now suppose we wanted to exclude the 0 and we wanted to start printing out at 1. We can specify in the range by saying 1, comma 11. And now we see that we started at 1. So we can specify the first and one more than the last entry here. Now again, if you don't know much about these things, and I tell you this, there's a thing called range, what you should do is Python 3 range function. And then go here, range. All right, what does it do? So we see start, stop, and then step. You can ignore this immutable sequence type for now. Just know that you have a starting position, a stopping position, and a step size. So suppose we wanted to say start here, end over here, and then we wanted to take step sizes of 2, right? So let's see what this prints out. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Well, okay. 1 plus 2 is 3. That's our step size. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. So this is our step size, and we're going up to 10. And there is no, once we get to 9, we can't go any further because we have a stopping point here, 11. Okay. And again, here's the documentation for that. Okay, so that's a while loop. And again, notice it says start and stop. It doesn't say that we have to start at the beginning. So for example, what if I do something like this, like 11, 1, minus 1. So now, oh, I need to go there. So the starting position always starts with the thing. So we're starting at 10. We're ending at 1 less than this, or 1 more than that, 1 more than that, and we're decrementing by 1. So here we have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So we start there. We end at 1 plus this, and we're going down by steps of 1. So if I wanted to go down by steps of 2, we'll just replace that with 2, and then we get this. Okay. So that's a for loop using the range function. So let's look at a while loop now. Just clear this out. So we can say x is equal to 0. So it's assigning x to be the value 0. And then we can say while x is less than or equal to 10, colon, press enter. Notice the white space again. It's very important. This is 4 clicks of your space bar, right? We can say print x, and then we need to increment x here. So we can do x plus equals 1. And so what this is doing is it's adding to, we're saying x now becomes x plus 1. That's what this is doing, plus equals 1. Okay, so we print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. So any questions about that? And we can make this go up as much as we want. We can just make 1,000 or something, and then it just goes. Always incrementing by 1. Or if we wanted to, we could increment by 100. And we get 0, 100, 200, so forth and so on. Okay, those are while loops. All right, so next, let's look at arrays, or not arrays, sorry, lists. So this is a list. List. L is this list. I don't know, 12, 3, -1, 5, 11, or something like that. Okay? So we can just say print L, see what it looks like in the console, and we get this. Okay, okay, so let's figure this out. So here's L. So L, the indices, or indexing L begins at 0, just like with the strings. So if I do L of 0, that gives me a 12. L of 1, that should give me a 3. L of -1, it should be the 11, right? Okay, so just as before, we can check to see if values are in there. So we can say like, is S and L, the string S, false. But if we do like 12 in L, true. Okay, how long is L? So the length of L, like that. So there's 6 things in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So strings and this do have common functions that will work in all of them, in both cases, I mean. But since if L has all numeric types in it, which this one happens to do that, then we can do some other things like what is the maximum element of L? 22. And what is the minimum element of L? Okay. What happens if you want to sum all the things in L? Okay. So these simple built-in functions make life really easy when programming with lists because these are built-in functions in the Python and they're common use cases. The console should let you erase, Edwin, if you type clear. If it doesn't, then it might have gotten frozen. And I would click on this little X right here and restart your console. Restarting the console will help fix that problem, I'm pretty sure. If clear isn't working, just restart your console and see what happens. Okay, now suppose we want to print things out that are in L. I'll just do this over here in the script. I can say for X and L, print X. Exit out of that for loop. I run this. 12, 3, -1, 5, 22, 11. Okay, so let's look at the methods for lists real fast. So go to Python, methods. Okay. So we have append, add an item to the end of the list. So, okay. Suppose we want to put a 4 in there. So here's L currently. So L dot append 4. So what did that do? It added a 4 to the end of L. Okay. There's another method if you read L dot pop. It takes the index to be -1. Let's see what that does. So it removed the 4. So now if we look at L, 4 is gone. Okay, so let's put that back in there and do L dot append 4. There's L. Okay, so let's use pop again, but then let's specify a different index. Let's say -2. So let's see what that does. It removed 11. So now 11 was taken out because we specified the -2 index to be removed. We can also do L dot remove. So let's give it a value 3. And now 3 has been removed. Okay. Okay. Um, and there's all kinds of other methods as well. So there's a one called sort, which is rather useful. I use that all the time in my programming life. L.sort. And now we see that it's been sorted in ascending order. We can do L.sort. And then notice we have reverse is equal to false. We can override that and say reverse equals to true. And now it's sorted in the opposite way. Okay. Okay, so again, once you start playing around with a certain type in Python, it's important that you become familiar with the, the different methods. So I have a question here. My Python is not letting me do the pop sort append. That's very strange. Are you sure that? So is L defined? Like, you have an L to work with. Basically, for example, if I do like, see, so the error that you get in the console should tell you what's going on. And typically, if you don't know what the error is telling you, you can just like literally copy it, go over here, and just like and see like just what's going on. Ah, I see your problem immediately. So here we see that my error is tuple object has no attribute sort. I'm not dealing with tuples. So if I do type of L, it's a list. A tuple would be given by something like this. And tuples are immutable, meaning that a tuple cannot be changed in the same ways that a list can. Right? So T dot pop, see, tuple object has no attribute pop because if you use the open parentheses here, it's immutable. L was defined with brackets. So that means that, so if I do type of T, it's a tuple, which is immutable. But if I do type of L, which is mutable, it's a list. So I'm going to go ahead and copy your error here. I'm going to go over here, and then I'm going to paste that in there. You see that there's different ways that these are going to work, right? So I would always, as soon as you get an error that you don't understand and you're not in my lecture, just plug it into Google and see what it tells you and go down that rabbit hole. In fact, a lot of programming in practice is exactly that. Like for example, the programmers that I know, at least like 15 minutes of their day as professional programmers is spent looking up errors on Google. So please keep that in mind. Okay, so I think that'll be it for today's lecture. Please, as I noted in earlier lectures, keep up with Corey Schaefer's YouTube channel and program along with him, kind of like how you might have been programming along with me. And next time, we're going to do some more programming. And then I've decided to move the exam back till not this weekend, but next weekend. So we have more time to look at some Python things, and then we'll do a little bit of set theory, and then we'll have a review for the exam next Wednesday. Okay, so exam's been pushed back. Please keep up with the programming, and that will be it for today's lecture.
Excuse me, I have one question. On your YouTube site, are there what are the lectures that we're supposed to have already watched? Are all the ones listed?
Yes, all the ones listed for discrete math, yes.
Okay, what about the one that says like it starts with a P and it's shoot, I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to email you.
Let's just take a look.
Okay.
Okay, this here. So pretty much every single one of these.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I don't see it on there anymore. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there was an error that YouTube had with a few of my videos that were uploading this past weekend. So things might have changed, but this looks good to me right here.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so that'll be it for today. Please email me if you have any questions, and everyone stay safe. Don't
Thank you.
drive in high water or anything like that. All right, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.